The success of any startup business relies heavily on getting the preparation work right and ensuring that you test your prototype well, which leads to launching a great MVP or minimum viable product. So Yes TV went out to one of New Zealand's hottest startup companies right now and talked to Sharesies co-founder Sonya Williams about how to use an MVP to get started in your business and how your customers can assist you in building a better product or service as you go.
So that's really helpful that you've talked us through your journey of validation, validation. How would you define, because at that point a lot of startups in particular need to get into an MVP stage. How would you define an MVP?
There's going to be a leap in whatever you do. It's like you're not going to 100% know that something's going to work out before you do it. But you have to be really honest with yourself about the assumptions that you've made around whether this is going to be a success or not. So it's like for us, it was if we created a platform that could help people invest, as in we uncovered these barriers that people were feeling, which was it costs too much, they're jargoned out, and most financial institutions don't target, or they're not targeting people kind of like us or people who don't already have heaps of money. So it was around if we created something that solved those problems, would people invest? And so that's quite a big assumption. And you do as much as you can, and you kind of you're making sure you're testing. So we had we were testing every 2 weeks in that period. We'd take a prototype out and test, and then get some insights, and then that would help us refine that next phase of our product. But really, there is a leap, which is cool. We've created this thing. Yes, it ticks the boxes in our customer testing that we've done on the prototypes. But the key point is, will people give money up for this thing? Will people actually invest? And that, I guess, is what led us to what I would call our MVP, which was prioritising helping people make their first investment.
That's fantastic. I love what you were talking about there about every 2 weeks you're going out with a different iteration. Now that's possible in an online investment portfolio, for example. What if a student team had come up with a more physical product or a one face-to-face service? Have you any ideas how they might go about doing an MVP?
And that's quite an interesting one, because you do think there is a lot you can actually gain from a physical product that you kind of can't gain through prototype testing with kind of a digital product. And that most of the time you're not going to be with people when they're interacting with a software product, and it's actually quite unnatural to sit with someone and get them to click around in a prototype. That's not how they're going to live their lives. Whereas with a physical product, you can kind of create something that allows people to use this thing and then get them to feedback. You don't have to be there with them, watching them click through it and stuff like that. You can really just say, do you want to use this thing, and then tell me how it goes. So you can kind of like send it off with people quite a quick prototype of what you're trying to create.
Fantastic. So if we were thinking about Yes teams, setting an MVP up or setting an MVP up, would you have any tips that you might be able to give them?
Yeah, I would say first work out what is that big assumption you've made, and challenge each other on that. Like make sure that, because sometimes the big assumptions can be the hardest ones to be really honest with yourself that it's an assumption in the first place, because it's the kind of thing that you probably don't want to hear no to. If it came back that the testing was no, you probably don't want to hear that. So it's like be really honest with each other about that and challenge that out. Then I think remove your bias from any test. So work out, all right, what's the best and quickest way we could get this answer, and probably I'm guessing quite low cost. You can kind of pull something together. It doesn't have to be really polished quality. Like the first prototypes we took out were just printouts of iPhones with some pen drawing on it, and that, we literally did it in 2 minutes. And we took that out, and that was enough to start conversations with people and hear feedback really full on, without being committed that we'd put in heaps of time to create this beautiful thing. And then I think experiment. Actually make sure you're curious, pretend you're an explorer or something, and kind of really listen to what people are telling you, and look for other insights, things that, if they say they like something, maybe ask them you know, how much, you know, like what, ask them really, the test is, would they be willing to give up something for that? It's not, because people like a lot of things, but really when it comes down to it, we don't have a lot of time, we don't have an infinite amount of money, we're going to have to make a trade-off at some point to adopt what you've created, and the leap is whether that's worth it for people, and that's what you want to find out.
And just to pick up one thing in there that you said that's really pertinent for our students is that it doesn't have to be high quality, does it?
No.
Because teams get very hung up on, oh, but this looks a bit rubbish, it's a bit crap, I don't want to put it out there. But that's not really the point of the MVP at all, is it? You're saying just get it out and get people using it and testing it and get that feedback. Is that?
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's actually easier for people to give more honest feedback if they feel like they're working with something that is not going to offend you.
Yeah.
It's like you've obviously put a lot of time into this. I don't want to crush your dreams. Whereas if it feels like it's a work in progress, people are more open and they're willing to say, and they can feel like they're building the solution. And I think that's a very special thing when the person that you're talking to feels like it's something they've created too. Like, don't be scared of that, because really that's what you want. You want to kind of build off the information you're getting.
Fantastic. So just one more question. So quite often what we see with students as well, when you explain what an MVP is and ask them to consider that as part of the process, they put it in the too hard basket and they start to rely a little bit on more traditional market research methods and sending out surveys, which they all have their place as well. But if you were to tell us, in your opinion, what are some of the benefits of having an MVP, that would be really helpful.
What you kind of miss in that interaction with an actual person is what's going on, why that's happening, you know, like really, why wouldn't you do that, or why would you do that, or why are you thinking that? And when you've actually got someone there, you can follow that line of questioning and find out a lot more. I think I talked that we did 6 months, but there are so many examples of how you can turn around a validation kind of series in a day. And I don't mean that we spent 6 months full time on that, you know, we just were doing these 2-week. We've all had full-time jobs at that time. So it doesn't have to, you don't have to overcook it either. It's like, all right, what's almost the minimum I have to do to feel comfortable that I've validated this big assumption? So to the point where it doesn't feel risky to me anymore. And so it can be done in a week, it can be done in a day, but it's more I guess the process of it, which is like, I have this idea, I have to kind of find out how people are feeling about it. How am I going to do that? Structure a little experiment and then find the answers, and then kind of plan from there and go, all right, I've learned something. What do I want to learn next? And go from there.
Fantastic. Sonya, thank you so much for your time today. That's really, really brilliant.
Oh, cool. Thanks for having me.